like chocolate and peanut butter.
Coffee and TV.
Metroid and Castlevania.
Anyway, welcome back to the podcast
Because
where
Metroidvania,
yes, Sam,
game
I hope
genre.
they got that anyway. Anyway, welcome back to the Anime Tales podcast as you are back with me, Ongoer Joe, Alex, aka Alex, and Sam, aka Sam.
The man.
Hey,
Sam
I
the
am the man.
man.
So today
for a
we're gonna be
bargain.
So today we're actually going to be talking about a few different things. We're talking about synergies like chocolate and peanut butter, coffee and TV for some reason, and then obviously Metroid and Metroidvania, as we're actually going to be talking about power synergies, things that can go really well together. For instance, fire and ice, spider and super strength for some reason. Well, either way, we're just going to be talking about a load of different ones. So if you don't really like that, then click off this right now because I'm sorry. I tried.
All the way through.
Powers that go really well together. I'm just going to list off a few really simple ones. Super strength and immortality. Those seem to be going really well together. Immortality and super healing factor. Super speed and super strength. The ability of flight and super strength. The laser eyes and having really weirdly cool glasses. I mean, these are powers that just no one knows why, but they work really well together. But obviously, in tabletop RPGs, we also see that a lot as well. Multi-classing, for instance, some people. I mean, to be fair, Paladin, one of the all-time fan favorites. Paladin is basically cleric and fighter, Now, I know that Sam is currently about to jump up my bum, but before we get up to that, elbow deep in that, I'm actually going to... I've really just wrote myself into a corner here.
I was going to say, your bum's not that good.
Thank you. Not yet. No, but either way, my point is that a lot of people do talk about certain things like this, like power synergies, multi-classes, and so on and so forth. So my point to you is we're going to actually have a talk about different power synergies, powers that really work together, that we find that would actually be really well made, either in D&D or in Anime Tales. For instance, if you guys, for some reason, are tuning into episode, what is it, 15 now? And you guys still don't yet know what that is, Anime Tales is a game that I'm currently developing with these lovely lot. And we also do, every fortnight, we do sessions, and we'll actually be doing this one this Sunday. So if you actually are interested in seeing the stream, check out Joey the Mystic on Sundays. That's at, I think, is it BST or GMT? It will be at 3 BMT, or not BMT, BST or GMT, one of the two. It will be at 3 p.m. So if you guys are interested in having a look at a bunch of people failing very badly, then check it out. Basically, it's supposed to be a superpower focused tabletop RPG, but it's actually more to do with the actual concepts of customization and being able to build, where we don't believe that power gaming has to necessarily come from a bad thing. Power fantasy, superpower fantasy, sci-fi, stuff like that. It can all be the same if you really, really want it to. So, I mean, if you're interested in that, check it out. And if you're not, I'm really sorry that you've come this far.
So
anyway,
get out. Get out.
With me, Dago, and Alex as
That's it, Eva.
And me as Naruto. I mean, Game Master. So, guys, or people. So, individuals.
Geipel, I think, is my gender.
Fair enough. So, we've been talking a lot about power synergies. Anomalies are the names of the superhumans that have two powers. In Anime Tales, they have two powers, but we also have husks, or Huskonians as they're known as, mutant creatures that have up to three powers. What specifically, not even talking about specifically Anime Tales, but what specifically are two powers that you think are really good synergies together. I'm going to say, let's go with Sam first, only just because that he was very energetic last week, so surely he'll be as energetic this week.
Less energetic, because I'm slightly more sober. Well, the very obvious one is, like, telepathy and telekinesis. Jean Grey school of mixing and matching.
That is true,
like,
that is true.
Use your mind control for everything!
My mind!
Exactly. Or, there is, I mean, if you want to give another example, which is quite funny to do.
No, go on.
Hang on.
Always funny one is Wizard and Barbarian are always quite funny.
Yeah, someone who
Because-
rages at... literally, like the perk Nerd Rage. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, mostly because whenever they run out of spells, that's when they suddenly, like, Hulk out, just their robes explode out, and just see a chiseled 8-pack. Then they think... Then they think, oh, this guy, he's just a wee nerd. Look at him, he's wearing a stupid hat. He's got a wand. Then he's like, well, I got no spells. Time to show you what I learned in the Hard Knocks.
Is that
like
what
that
it is,
as
like
well.
an 80-year-old human?
It's
Because
like
everyone is a
looking like-
basic... Sorry, no, go on.
No, just like with his face, like the 80-year-old, like sort of Dumbledore face, and he's just doing spells, and then you get closer, and he's just like a brick wall underneath this old man head. And it's like,
Dumbledore,
no.
but with Arnold Schwarzenegger's body.
Yeah.
So basically, what I imagine, some Logan, like if anyone's seen like the film Logan, their special effects team just on Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then just basically make him the sort of boomy. It's like, oh yes, come closer. I will cast some of my cantrips on you because I have run out of spell slots. As soon as they get like within like 2 meters distance, he suddenly like stands up from the crooked sort of position, suddenly just curls a single like muscle, and immediately like this robe tears off of him, and it goes, sonny, let's see what you got. Oh yeah. Like, I'm imagining just basically that concept of an 80-year-old man as he suddenly like stands up and he's like 3 feet taller than everyone expected. You suddenly just hear the crunch of his back and then the ripping of his thing. If anyone has ever seen Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins, I recommend you see Seven Deadly Sins because of Escanor is so damn brilliant as a character. It's just this weedy little guy, and then like at a certain point of the day he just becomes like this massive powerhouse that is unbeknownst to so many how ridiculously powerful he is. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking about anime again.
Because
Well, that's why coffee and TV
literally has
is
nothing
best.
to do, because you don't have to be an 80-year-old to be a wizard.
No,
Wizards
no,
can
no,
be.
no, 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 no.
Like imagine if you just saw Harry Potter, like you're like in the first movie, let us say, like wee nerd kid, barely looks like he can lift a table or like a chair, and then all you see is suddenly just rage. Like he just hulks out.
That actually would make the books a lot better. To be fair, that would have
Yeah.
been a twist. I reckon that would be a twist.
It was
You
funny
know,
because
it's like-
it's funny because I didn't actually expect that we'd talk about Harry Potter literally after talking about Harry Potter before the podcast.
I know.
But it is.
but
It's
it
what
yeah,
everyone's thinking. Yeah,
That's my
it's
one.
what everyone's mind. It's the yeah. I mean, I've made my views on the Harry Potter, very vocal as well. I like Harry Potter, but Lady Bad wizards shouldn't poop in hallways. Just make that not canon, JK, for God's sake.
No. I mean, to be fair, if anything, we now need to have it as a point of history. It's important. I don't like it, and neither should you. But it's important for history because we don't learn anything if we don't. Listen. I don't know. Anyway, moving on very swiftly.
Wizards
Oh,
poo in their pants.
Yeah, it was just. Actually,
Anyway.
no, you know what? With your impassioned speech, I've changed my mind. You're right. We should erect a statue of Dumbledore dropping
no.
a deuce
No,
right in the hallway
I'm so
and
sorry.
magicking it away.
Oh no,
Okay.
no. Anyway,
That
right.
is power
so-
synergy, pooping and magic.
Yes, exactly.
I'm pretty
Back
sure.
on topic.
I'm pretty sure. Was it this podcast, or was it just a discovered fever dream where we were talking about? What was it? It was fecokinesis. It's just
That must have been something. I don't think it was on this podcast. I mean, the Fico-Kinesis. Oh no! Wait. That was like, wasn't it part of the color control thing where we
yes,
decided that if
that's
you
it.
had control
'Cause
over
it's
color,
if people don't know what we're talking about, don't worry about it. Fecal kinesis, you don't need to worry about it because that's basically all we're going to say about it. We're going to move on now. So,
we were very tired.
two powers that were. I hope we were. So we're going to move on very quickly. Actually, yeah,
drunk.
I think it was. No, I think it was 2 a.m. Anyway, so Alex, two powers that you think work really well together.
Well, actually, I'll have my Marvel comparison. Spider physiology with invisibility. Intangibility, which Miles Morales has.
Yeah.
It doesn't have intangibility, but it does have
Well,
invisibility.
yeah, it's invisibility. Yeah, but
But
in terms of like
those
games,
those two powers would be really cool, like intangibility and spider physiology.
exactly. You could just you could literally be like a real spider. I swear to God, spiders in my house seem to just go through walls and into the bath. Like they just sort of travel through portals, and in through the ceiling and directly into my bath.
Watch the
Like
next
there's no
incredible
Watch
explanation.
the next
creatures.
episode of Animite Fables as I make all of the players fight Arachnax.
Uh-oh.
By the way,
No,
those who don't know
all
what
we'll have to
Arachnax
do-
are, I did explain. I think I explained it last episode, which are just giant, freaking massive spiders that I think can be at smallest size. I think it's like the smallest size they can be the size of a dinner plate. At the biggest size, they can be the size of a double-decker bus.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Dago
Goodbye.
wanted to get a.
Dago
Dago
wants
wanted
one.
to get a
Dago
mind
wants
of.
one to ride on. And
Dago ain't gonna get one. We are smashing those things.
It's,
No.
The thing
swear-
is,
No.
next week, Anime Tales meets the
eight-legged freaks. Yeah. I want to point out I am a massive arachnophobic, but when I made Arachnax, I was like, oh man, I regret this, but I'm gonna build them. And I built them, and I was like, these are really cool, and they're really terrifying, and they're really powerful. I wonder how many people's lives I could ruin by just their existence being in this game. So yeah, Pyrostags, Arachnax, and what was it? Oh yeah, Midas crabs. My brother's creation, which I still love to this day. And Taladals. If you don't know what a Taladal is, you'll find out soon enough. So we're going to move on very swiftly because I actually have a power of 2 that are actually possible in Animite Tales. I know that technically both of the ones that you came up with are both possible, so thank you again for that. But I'm going to come up with one which is a little different. So we always talk about this one, but we never actually do anything with it. So I'm going to say this: copying. So copying, and the ability of fire mimicry. So the ability to turn into fire. And the ability to copy other people's powers. Because imagine that. You just have the ability to just be fire. And then this fire that is just unhurtable by physical touch is able to suddenly use your powers. That is terrifying. Like, that is pretty damn scary.
Do you mean like Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four sequel, the Silver
Oh,
Surfer?
no, well, technically he's more like an amalgam, but yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, okay, I'll hasten to add, I do know he swaps powers in the film, but he does end with him.
No, it does
copying
end
all
with
the
him
powers.
taking. I'd consider that more amalgam than actually copying, because with copying you can only use one at a time. With amalgam you can only use one at a time. But with gluttonous form, which is the level 10 ability, by the way, you can actually use all of them together at the same time.
You know what I meant, though.
No, you absolutely were right, and I apologise for that. So,
also, for anyone out there, I actually like that movie. I don't care what anyone says.
for any
it's
of
a
those who
movie.
are offended by the things that Sam has said on this podcast, please email me at no, please Lord, God no.
I will fight you in the street
.com.
over this.
To be fair, if anyone actually has any problems with this podcast, they can always just at me, Ongoa Joe, or even at Animite Tales. I'm not even going to bother spelling it. If you don't know how to spell it and you're on this podcast somehow, well done. But other than that, we're going to move on. So, we've talked about examples, but I actually want to now get into the actual concept of this. Sam, did you say it was your idea, or Alex, was it your idea for this podcast?
I think it. I don't know. I
Mine.
think it was like, yeah, it must have been Sam's because our one fan Connor was requesting it, I believe.
I want to point out he's not a
mean-
one fan. He's just the one fan that has contact with one of the three
I mean-
of us.
He's
I
a
don't
one
think-
fan.
to be
He's a
honest-
one fan.
You don't think? I mean, I can't remember if he ever actually.
We have
did
quite a
ask for
few
power
viewers on
synergies.
this, to be fair.
Yeah, I
Honor,
mean,
did-
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Whenever I come back on Monday, please tell me if you did ask for this, because I don't know.
I like to think Connor
Like
is the
other
number
ones.
one.
For people
I would
who-
like
He
to
is.
think
For people
number
who
one.
don't know, Connor is a person who I don't know personally, but Sam does because
Yes.
he works with Sam, and he listens to our podcast. So again, if you want to be that uptight with one of us, please send a message, a comment, or even just tweet me at Adamite Tales, and I will hear your voice, and I will tell you, yes, your opinions do matter, because in all honesty, they really do, because that's the whole point of this podcast. We want to talk about discussions on these videos, but if you're not listening, what's the point? Anyway, so okay,
Wow.
so
Jeez. Okay.
I mean, the worms
we
won't
don't-
care. Let's be honest. Let's continue.
Okay, Joe. What time's your therapy session again, Joe? Do you need a moment?
I hired you
Technically-
again. How much cocaine did you do? before
Okay,
this?
I want to point out I've never touched drugs, but I will point this out. My therapy session is those Sundays, so please come to the session, Sam.
Please,
Anyway.
please don't go, Sam. He might kill again.
Oh. So anyway, power synergies. Right, so obviously we're talking about fire and ice. I'm going to make this example and then we're going to move on. Todoroki, Shoto Todoroki from Shoto Todoroki from My Hero Academia is one of the best power synergies ever. He has fire on his something side, I think left side, and on his right side he has ice, I believe. Do not at me.
It's his right side that has fire, I believe.
A side of his body has fire. Another side that is not the same side has ice. So
Matter.
we're gonna move on. So the idea is pretty damn simple. So we're gonna talk about some different powers that actually would be pretty damn cool, and then people can just at us at Sam dot something and at
Come
actually
up to me in the street. Say hi.
actually
Yeah,
Alex,
That's
do you
life
have
right
a
there.
Twitter handle?
I do actually. I'm at Obscuracom. That's me. Mixed to Skelly Man, I think is my handle right now. But yeah, at Obscuracom.
So if you,
And talk to me if you want to.
if you wanna bully Alex about how bad their examples are and nothing else,
Aw.
then definitely message them. But if it's anything else, just know that we don't appreciate that. It's only about our opinions, not about who we are, because that hurts.
It's all about bullying Alex and nothing else.
Come at me, scrub lords, I'm ripped.
I mean, to be fair, Alex has the biggest brain.
That's not even true. That's
I was trying to say like I was trying to
that's
think,
not
like,
even
I was
true.
going to say the best
No.
roles, but I couldn't actually lie about that. 'cause
No,
if
it's
You're
anyone's
gonna
like-
say.
again, if
I
anyone's
think you're gonna
seen
say the
that-
truth. Is that
Again,
Alex does
if-
have the biggest fan base.
Fair enough.
I mean,
I
that
don't
is
know.
kind of true. I mean, well, that's the thing. I don't think it's a lot, but apparently, because I've got like 809 followers now, but it's like, yeah, everyone's like, oh, you're famous, and it's like, no, I'm really not.
You
Most
are
of these
famous.
people,
So,
yeah.
so if anything,
Most of these
we're
people are
the
bots.
peasants. So, yeah.
Scrounging off your success.
This, I am scrounging off a lot of people's success, to be honest. Hashtag thanks Des, thanks Shane Boy, Cool Boy Shane, and thank you so much again, Juice, Coin, Cookie Swagger, for all joining my podcast. That was so good and so awesome of you. Anyway, right, we're going to move on. So, power synergies. So, we've obviously talked about multi-classing. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to say this. I think that power synergies make things interesting. They make customizability much more possible. I don't even know if that's a word, customizability, but we're going to go with it. Everything is so much more customizable when you create this possibility of, hey, these two different things, merge them together. Because everyone likes peanut butter, and everyone likes chocolate, but peanut butter and chocolate. I know not everyone likes peanut butter.
Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, so
Terrible.
Yeah, Sam,
Okay,
why
okay.
do you hate good things?
Okay, Sam, I have to agree with you only for one thing: greasy, cheap chocolate with not so great peanut butter.
Hook it to my
is
hook it
bad.
to my
However,
veins.
I did it with Cadbury's and some off-brand Sainsbury's peanut butter, and I have to be honest, it was the greatest thing that has ever happened to me.
You probably could have used some off-brand Tesco thing, and it would have been even better.
I mean, yeah, but let's be honest, I don't live near a
On spawn.
Anyway, so so power synergies. I don't know why I keep saying this because it's almost like as if we're not even going to get onto the subject at this
Get
point.
into some.
Which you know what? It's going to be a Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday explanation thing at this point. Anyway, so power synergies. I liked this idea. To be honest, I actually said that I was up for this idea because that we have anomalies and husks. But I would very much like to hear both of your opinions on the idea of power synergies. Do you think that powers should be good enough on their own, or do you think that powers that are coupled with another power make them more interesting? What are your opinions? I would like to hear.
Well, I do love anomalies, as you know. I've played a lot of anomalies, and of course my fan favorite, Aspen is an anomaly with, I think, two powers that go really well together. It's nature manipulation and biokinesis.
I hate that they go so well together because I said to my brother, I said that there's no way like there's any better coupling than healing factor and biology manipulation. And when you came up with that, I was like, that's actually weirdly better than almost any other power coupling that I could have thought of. Because, again, it's that thing of, like, I can heal any living creature, and I can control and technically heal any plant life. So it's that thing of I can communicate with them, I can heal them, I can control them. And it's that thing of you can either be the perfect naturist or the ultimate sort of tyrant over nature. And
Exactly.
obviously, Aspen is not a bad person, so that's fine.
We know of.
Okay, okay. Well, Aspen is not inherently evil, nor is Aspen attempting to be. So therefore, it works well with their personality. And
I mean, that's why I created an evil version of Aspen anyway, to see what could happen, on the other side of it if they did just go full out evil.
yeah,
Not good. Turns out I'd want to get that back into Kiln actually, because evil Aspen's like I got some fan art from Coin that Sam helped commission, and it was really cool. I thought,
I'd very much like to show that off. In fact, if I could get any of those going, I try and see if I can get both of those pictures side by side of the original Aspen and the evil Aspen, because I think isn't evil Aspen called Poison Oak?
Yep, Poison Oak.
So I'd like to get those two side by side, and maybe I'll try and make that for the thumbnail for power synergies if two characters have the same powers but different personalities.
Yeah,
You're
and
not
it's
so
like
different,
utilizing it.
you and I.
Damn it. Sam, what are your feelings on it? Do you think characters should be able to stand up on their own one power, or do you think that power synergies are more interesting?
Well, I mean, most of the characters I love have one power. There are plenty of characters I love that have multiple powers, because it means that you can do more than one thing. Like, let's give the example of Cyclops. What does he do? He uses his lasers. That's the only thing he does. I laser them. Laser.
No, that's not true. He also sometimes
Yes, he does.
there. He also sometimes sit there brooding about how he can only shoot lasers.
Exactly. Let's be honest. I don't even really care for Cyclops in general.
Is that not just a problem with the character though, rather than the power itself? Though?
No, it is the power.
But it also means that people with more than one power can go about things in a multitude of ways. Like let's go for your own Miles Morales. It means that rather than just going in like punching everything in his way, he could go in like, oh, I'm gonna be stealth. Stealth my way in, or be or be invisible and punch the crap out of people while invisible.
Oh,
I
he
mean-
also has this ability where he can stun people with his electric
Poison.
powers as well. So
He
Or
has,
venom.
he has
Yeah.
a venom, and he also has an electric shock ability. I mean, there's tons of things that he can do. I mean,
Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool
he
character.
has. To be fair, I'm gonna throw this out there now because I'm a stickler for the rules, or stickler, however you want to pronounce it. I don't know.
His three
But-
powers.
He doesn't even have 3, mate. He has like 4 or 5. Like, he has spider physiology, kind of electrokinesis, or at least electricity generation, invisibility, and he also has something else.
Cognition.
He has poison generation because he can also use poison. Well, depending
I
on
mean,
technically
it's not part of
he's
Spider.
like husk level. He's like a husk level power, but even so, it's like, yeah, Miles Morales is kind of OP. Now that I think about it, he's got so much. Yeah, he's got so much going
and
on.
people can't say, actually, the electro stun is
can.
not all that powerful. No, it can actually distort electrical fields based on what he's touching. Like, do you know how much electricity you need to generate? I mean, fair enough, not that much, but still enough to be able to mess with people. And it's
Again,
enough,
he's
Yeah,
more
it's
of a
enough
stealth-
to burns on people as well. So
You want to go for a different character then that only specifically has two?
no. I want to point out, I still
If you
love
wanna go-
Miles Morales. He's probably, in all honesty, I'm not really that much of a fan of Peter Parker. As soon as I found out about Miles Morales, I was like, jump on that, because that is cool.
It's because he made a deal with Satan.
No, okay, yeah, that. I mean, to be fair, sorry, Peter, but I mean, you should have definitely listened to Stanley on this.
I mean,
and-
Miles Morales made a deal with Satan as well.
Wait,
Oh,
hang on.
is there anyone
really?
in the Marvel universe that
I mean-
hasn't made a deal with Satan? My
I
God,
should-
like
I mean, I
stop.
should say the reason being was that his entire party died, essentially, and Satan was like, "Hey, well, I'll do. There's no deal here. You don't get anything out of it. I just want you to I'll reverse time for 5 minutes and bring everyone back. You only have 5 seconds." He's like, "Sure," and then someone died because he didn't go out to save them. Now, who cares? It wasn't a main character.
Anyway, Sam, do you have any other ones that are specifically to do with at least 2 powers? I mean, specifically
Okay.
only 2.
I could go Laharl, Disgaea.
Who?
Okay, for those who don't know, this guy is a RPG series, or a JRPG series that is great. It's about demons, devils, and humans. I mean, it's about devils, angels, and humans, but it's mostly set in the Netherworld,
Of course. When isn't it?
Yeah,
But continue.
where it's mostly about demons and how yes, they can be good, except for the 4th game, which is about vampire. So it's a good game series. But Laharl in the first game is the son of the Overlord, and he has the power of super strength, either sorcery or just fire. It's just called magic in the game, but it's mostly just making people explode with fire, or bringing or making a meteorite of fire jumping on top of it.
Imagine
Folding
being able
his
to
arms
make
and
people
laughing.
explode, Alex. I can imagine the ability to make things explode, Alex, but either way, I'm sure that I definitely wouldn't be disappointed if I only had the ability to explode things, Alex.
Sorry.
No, I'm
Sorry
so
about
against
that
Alex's
forehead.
character.
I have nothing against Alex's character, just the way that Alex plays it. No, I'm kidding. To be fair, I really like Warhead to the point of which I'm a little bit too biased towards Warhead. I even made the most recent, I made the most recent mini boss catered towards being a difficult fight for Warhead because I really like the idea of some character development, and then just Siobhan, just Valentina's super strength flight character, just annihilating him in 2 hits, and I was like, oh, never mind. Which is now what I'm going to get into, which is flight and super strength. It is the most basic ass ability. I'm sorry, but it is. Hey, what do you have? The ability to lift up a building and throw a baseball around the entire world and catch it. Cool. Wait, what is that you're standing on? Nothing, because I can fly. Cool. Right, how fast can you fly? Probably around about the same speed as the Flash can run. I mean, depends on if you count the comics, because I mean, in the comics you can run faster than light. But anyway, my point is, flight and super strength are so damn basic that at this point it's just the same as bread and butter, knife and stab.
It has become an archetype.
Key and door. Come on, guys. It is the most basic thing. Pen and paper. Am I coming out here? Is this clear enough to all of you? Stop it.
I mean, it is an archetype. You just have to say, oh, it's the Superman archetype. And everyone thinks, oh, he can fly. Oh, he has super strength. That's about it.
It is sort of like, it is getting close to godliness. That's the thing that I think that why it goes together. It's like, yeah, you're literally an angel that can just smite people, instantly with your fist and then fly away. There we go.
Yeah,
I have a mind for that. I know what's going on
here. The ability
here.
of flight and super strength always bothers me, but it is one of my favourite combinations in Animite Tales, because it's that thing of like, oh no, range is a difficulty. Not really, because you still can have that ability to dodge, but then at some point you're gonna have to come down to hit them. So I don't know. Like maybe I'm a hypocrite. I mean, everyone knows this at this point I am, because of my likes for mutant creatures, and yet I always come up with like overly clean archetypal bad guys. I miss you, Ted. Anyway. No, I don't know. Like it's that thing of like, okay, so I'm gonna put this up: super strength and dermal armor, or at least super strength and physical durability, like super durability. Like that's another one. The ability to
the juggernaut.
The ability to tank damage, but then the ability to be able to dish it out almost as much as you can take, if not more. The Hulk kind of has that, but let's be honest, Juggernaut is.
I mean, I did talk to Alex about this last night. The Hulk is anger empowerment, or like anger stacking.
Yeah.
And duration.
Yeah.
Or like whatever.
Yeah.
Because he's lost arms and like been disintegrated, and he's like grown back.
I mean, yeah, like his power is literally like, I think it was nigh unkillable, mostly with perks, because more of the abilities was like speed regeneration and stuff like that. Because there are certain moments where like he can be dismembered and it takes a while, but other moments is like he just suddenly got a natural 20 almost and instantly regenerated everything.
So it depends on how angry he is.
Yeah, that's again. This is why I think that it's more perks than it is buffs, because I don't think it's like high dice. Because I think again it takes him a little time to sort of recuperate. But again, getting to that point of like, oh, rage is coming, rage is building.
I'm so angry. I'm gonna regrow my legs.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, there is a moment where Lex Luthor is so pissed at Superman that he even dares, after a building falls on him, he has lost 3 limbs and he's impaled in 6 different places, and he's pissed off that Superman even dares ask him, do you need my help? And he says, I don't need your help, damn it, be gone from me. And it's that thing of like, okay,
Lex Luthor.
If this could not have been any more metal, unless if he had, as he was gritting his teeth screaming that, he regenerated 3 limbs. There was no... This is why I think that Hulk is one of the most... Like, in all honesty, I know a lot of people were like, I don't know if like he's all that relatable. No, he is. Because if you think about it, how many times have you been so angry that you just think, this thing could happen? Like, it's that moment that you grit your teeth and bear through this really crappy situation, and you're thinking, man, how much do you feel in this moment that you're getting like pumped full of adrenaline that you think anything can be possible?
When I was jazzed, I could punch everything in my way.
I've actually literally had that happen to me. I had an adrenaline rush once. I don't know if this is like too personal for the podcast, but one time my mum like fell over, and it was like a big adrenaline. And my mum is quite, is like a fully grown person, and I'm like a very weedy person in real life. And I just sort of kicked into like, super child mode, and like with the adrenaline, I just like kind of lifted her and like carried her, just like fucking like that movie, it's like love lift us up where we belong, just like naturally that gentleman, I was like, don't worry, We shall get there. And it was like there, and it was just trying to. It was just like picking her up and then putting her down. She was fine, by the way. But like I did that, and then after that, I just sort of collapsed. I was like, ah.
It is
So
that thing.
I'm not the Hulk though.
No, but it is that thing that adrenaline, anger, rage, emotion. It powers you, and it is that thing of like to go from that particular thing. Sorry, Sam, to cut you off. Is just that thing of like my mate and I were talking about like fights when we got into fights when we were kids. And he just went, when you're in that adrenaline rush, you don't feel it. Like, you might feel it a few minutes after or a few hours after. It's like, oh, man, I didn't even realise I cut my lip, or I didn't even realise it punched me in the face. But it's that moment of just like, oh, man, like, oh, I'm really angry, or oh, man, I'm really hyped. And it is that thing that you don't feel it. And I think, honestly, Hulk's ability to regenerate almost kind of feels almost possible to the point of the perspective of the reader, if you've been in that situation where at some point you've been so powered emotionally or even by the moment that you are able to do things that you never thought was possible because you're not thinking about the impossibility. I mean, my cousin put it so well like about quite a few months ago. He said, the mind thinks, is it or is it not possible? Instead of that, the survival instinct kicks in and it doesn't ask you whether it is or isn't. You just do it. And that is the perfect, succinct moment of mind creates possibilities through instinct rather than thought. So,
I mean, I was going to say that is pretty much the plot of the original 1980s television show with David Banner with the Hulk. Is that the reason he became the Hulk was because his wife died in a car accident that he was in. He couldn't get the strength to move, like to lift the car up.
Oh damn! Okay.
Save her. Like this is like, I mean, this is no spoilers. This is in the first 5 minutes of the show, is him having a nightmare about this happening and then waking up. It's a great TV show, and essentially he's trying to figure out why other people have the strength at these times to essentially break their own like limit, what they can do to lift cars and like tank bullets. Like, even talks to someone in like during one of the wars, whatever war it was, who took like 50 bullets in the chest and he survived. He said he didn't even feel it, didn't even notice because he had to do something. And that's pretty much that's why he became the Hulk, essentially, was because he was trying to figure out why these things happen. It didn't happen for him. And it's something to do with gamma rays, and like it was like on these days gamma rays were there.
It's like, metachlorian kind of
explanation. Yeah, kind of. It's
like,
almost midichlorian. Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't midichlorian. It was something to do with like an actual cell in the body. Like, so like, he had like the highest count, and then he like went over and irradiated himself, like with X-ray,
gamma rays. Are you about to tell me that truly the Super Saiyan was within us all along?
I mean, technically speaking, we all have that power. The reason we don't use it is because our bodies know that if we were to do that, we would rip and tear muscles.
Yeah,
our muscles are usually set at a specific limit.
Hysteric strength, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
We do have great strength in us, but we just don't use it because that could be bad for our bodies.
That's very dangerous.
That's why. Yes. But anyway.
Yes, but anyway.
What's the Incredible Hulk, the TV series?
So I'm going to talk about one particular power synergy that I never thought I'd actually bring up in this podcast. I'm just joking. I knew that I was going to talk about this one. The ability to pass on powers, and the powers stack with each particular person that has a power before them.
What's this from, Joe? What is this from, I wonder?
So, One Piece, no. Dragon Ball, no. No, so it is from My Hero Academia. I'm sorry again for the people who don't even know what that is or don't even care. But basically, the concept is the more people that have the power, the more powerful it becomes. The longer they have it for before they pass it on, the more powerful it becomes for the next person, etc., etc., etc. Basically, beforehand, this guy, his older brother, has the power to steal powers and give them to anyone he wants. But the younger brother has this ability where he can pass on his power, but that is his power. That's it. That's all it is. The ability to pass on a power. But that's his power. Like, right. So he can pass on his power and that's it. But then, the brother who can steal powers and give them to people gives them to the younger brother. He gives them the power to stockpile power. As in, like, energy, physical strength, superpower, whatever. And apparently, the longer he has it, the stronger he'll become with it. Eventually, he then gives his quirk or his power onto someone else, and they get that power. They get that culminated amount of power that he's been storing in for years. So they get like enhanced strength, enhanced power, whatever. That person then gives it on, and then gives it on, and then gives it on, and gives it on, and gives it on. Until eventually, you get to the main character, who's the 9th user of this, and he has 9 people's worth of power stored up in him. That is, I think they state claim that it's almost 100 years worth of power, which at this point he has the ability to destroy things easily. So
we should have mentioned this in our legacy characters.
Yeah, well, I kind of did, and I also kind of didn't for a couple of reasons, but there is something that they actually talk about, which is the previous people have powers. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but all I am going to say is the ability to be able to pass on a power is one thing, but the power synergy there is perfect. The power to pass on powers. You have no power. Suddenly given a power. You can now pass on this power that gets more powerful the more people who pass it on. That is insane. That is so cool. Sorry.
It's like it's just removing, kind of the downside. It's like, okay, you get a power that increases all powers. It's like, that's the perfect synergy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it is similar to another concept, which is like, the concept of like, okay, fire, you have a weakness to ice. Ice, you have a weakness to fire. Boom! Put them both together. You now have the power of ice and fire, and you have a resistance to both. It is just perfect harmony. And, I don't know, it's one of the things that I just really like about both of the concepts of it. It's one of the reasons why I took this on, like this subject specifically, because I just like it so much. But
mention My Hero Academia. Understandable.
Yeah, I mean, also, since he's not here, I'm going to say one other particular one, which is power synergy is specifically very useful with other specific things. For instance, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Oh yeah, you didn't think it was coming, but it was. It was coming. It's always coming.
No, I knew it was coming. It's always coming.
Some people say about the different stands, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about one specific person who does have a stand, but has something else. In the first 2 series, there is an ability called Harmone. Harmone is an ability where it's a breathing technique that allows the user to create ripples of energy, life force energy that mimics that of the sun, the solar radiations. If they do this on vampires or other creatures that are weak to it, specifically creatures that have a weakness to the sun, it can kill them. It's basically their form of a willpower technique or a soul wavelength ability, where they can use their own essence and hit them with it. Because of that specific power, the energy of Harmone energy or life force energy, will basically burn or kill a vampire, or at least harm them where they can't regenerate easily. This is very important because Joseph Joestar, one of my favourite characters in that series, not just because that he has the same name as me, is because that like later on in the 3rd series he gets a stand, and his stand is called Hermit Purple, where it just creates a bunch of purple vines that you can use to swing around like Tarzan, or you can use to actually hit mechanical objects. And as long as it has a screen or the ability to take pictures, he can use clairvoyance through it. He can see specific things that he needs to see. Now, at one point, he wraps his entire vines of his stand around him, and he puts his Harmone through it. Because of this, the vampire cannot touch him. So I think this is a perfect explanation of the synergy of, it doesn't even need to be necessarily 2 superpowers, but specifically maybe even a specific technique, ability, trade, class, along with it. For instance, the kind of concept of like, you're an Aasimar, and you're a cleric or a paladin, for instance, in D&D, or you're an angel and you just so happen to have the sword of the specific god that birthed you, or something like that. Same sort of circumstance. Or even you're a merfolk person, someone who can breathe underwater, live underwater, etc., etc. But then all of a sudden you're also given like a weapon that specifically is only usable underwater. Those kind of synergies that we don't see every now and again, but it's that particular situation. So, I don't know, it's just interesting to me. You can share your opinions on that. Mock me for making another JoJo's reference, but I don't know, that to me is cool.
It's alright. I just saw like a little like twinkle in the sky, which in the constellation shaped like Alfie's face. So I think he did.
Alfie, I miss you.
One
There's
day,
no one talking
he
about
shall return.
Warhammer.
Someday. Like King Arthur, when Anime Tales needs him most, he will return.
So yeah, two synergies. I want you guys to come up with a synergy of two specific abilities, or a synergy of specific abilities. I'm going to say two. The reason I'm saying two is because obviously it would be amazing to have every power in the known existence of reality. So specifically two abilities that work really well together. Now it can be from Anime Tales, can be classes from D&D. Hell, it can even just be two powers that you've seen before. Just two specific abilities that would be really good to synergize together.
Actually, that one thing we did actually talk about in a previous episode was the ability of sort of diamond physiology, but also telepathy, which this is which hero did that?
Oh, that's Emma Frost.
Emma Frost, yeah, because like that was actually ridiculous here because she's got like she can absolutely just like wreck shop, physically. But also, like, she not only has the ability to control minds, she also has complete control over her own mind because you can't telepathize Diamond. Like, she is just completely unbreakable physically and mentally. And I think that's a really good synergy right there. I also, it's just cool. I find that nice.
No, I definitely no. Like, okay, I have to be honest. I definitely agree with you. And Sam, I know that you probably have an opinion on this, so I'm gonna let you go for that. But no,
Frost is cool.
Yeah, no, Emma Frost is really cool. I mean, the ability of diamond physiology is great. Do you know who else has diamond physiology?
The little girl from the Teen Titans with her face.
No.
Gwen.
Diamond Jozu from One Piece.
Oh!
He ate the
Diamond Head from Ben 10.
diamond fruit, where he basically coats himself in diamond, but then someone freezes him and breaks his arm off, so now he's just one armed.
There literally is just like an example from One Piece for everything.
Cool.
That's what we need One Piece for.
I mean, genuinely, if you come up with anything, I can guarantee you that there's a One Piece reference for it somewhere.
I found out it was Cole. That's the Teen Titan with the person who just comes diamond. And then that's all she can be.
I mean, yeah.
She just sort of keels over because she's made of diamond and has no thoughts.
That.
It reminds me of Stone Man.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I'm glad I remind you of that.
Yeah. No. Also, there is also Big Lung Boy.
There is Arm Fall Off Boy. There's a character for every joke.
I forgot about Arm Fall Off Boy.
I will never forget Arm Fall Off Boy. He was the best of us.
He reminds me of the Chop Chop fruit from One Piece, where you can sever parts of your body, like as if you're like chopped up into multiple pieces. You're immune to being cut, and you can float around your body parts.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Two
powers that go well together.
Well, I would say super charisma and super intelligence. And you could be like the ultimate strategist in a war effort, or like,
man,
if you want to play like Captain Kirk in or like any kind of like a captain in these things, just like I know everything and I can convince everyone to do what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, world peace? I know the strategy here.
I think you've just won the game. Like you've just won
Yeah,
this
again.
entire thing. Like I don't know how you've done it.
Is this like my band of moral purity or whatever it was that I
Yeah,
made?
it is. Yeah,
like,
I want that.
It's just like that. I mean, to be fair, like okay, the only way that I could make this better is, like I actually did. I was hoping to make a character for the war campaign because, I know my brother, and I have been talking about whether or not he should co-DM that, and I said, hey, you know what would be great? Me making a demon who has a unique attribute where he can use a blood/willpower technique where he can make deals with people. But they have to be willing to take the deal. But he could use charisma, super charisma, so that he's always winning these deals. Like, hey, now you don't want to miss out on this amazing deal, do you? No, I don't. No, you're absolutely right. Shakes hand. I'll see you in a few days. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? And it doesn't matter because they've shaken the hand. They willingly took the deal. So whatever he asks for, they will have to take back. Or
Joke's
give
on
to
him.
him.
I got some magic beans out of this.
Now, super intelligence, that is good. That is really good. And I think genuinely, to this day, super charisma is one of the most overpowered abilities. But those two combinations are so good.
That is pretty much Doctor Doom. Let's be honest here. He is.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, he's super intelligent and he is super charismatic.
I don't know. I would consider him more very charismatic rather than super.
Yeah, I mean, he does have sorcery, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying word for word that this is perfect, considering he doesn't have superpowers. But you know, he is cool. I just love Doctor Doom. Screw you all. He's super charismatic.
He is. I do quite like the concept of Doctor Doom.
And he runs a fair country. Everyone loves him. Yeah, everyone loves him. There's a reason every time he's not the king of Latveria, it goes to crap. Every time someone deposes him, everyone in the country hates the people that deposed him.
Bring back Doom!
I mean, to be fair, his name is Doom. It would be like the same thing of just calling any particular leader like Crappy Guy. And they're like, hey, remember Crappy Guy? Yeah, Derek Crappy Guy. He was really, really good at his job because everyone considered him to be really crappy. And it's the same. Hey, remember Doom? Yeah, he was bringing this whole place to doom. I know who's dooming the whole place up. Oh, yeah, man. So, you know, it was just... It was always double negatives or positive negatives. Or
I mean, I should say, he makes the country better.
Yeah.
You know, he saved it from he saved it from the Nazis. From Red Skull, whenever he tried to take over.
The ages. I can't believe that you didn't bring those up. A synergy for the ages. Speaking of Doctor Doom, science and magic, logic and illogical chaos.
That was going to be my next one. Was
fantastic.
Artificer and Wizard.
It is one of my favourite abilities ever, but one of my favourite things about it is that the armour that he has is made up of a bunch of different magical artifacts, and part of the Helena's nail. If people don't know what the Helena's nail is, it is the one of the nails that pierce, I believe, the right hand or the left hand of Christ. That means that it is soaked in the holy blood of Jesus Christ, which in a lot of situations, when one of the vampires, I think is it Morbius or Morpheus? I can't remember his name from Marvel. And
Michael Morbius.
That's it, Michael Morbius. And also Blade, when they try and attack him, they burn because they're unholy abominations. And because of that, that is one of the things of Doctor Doom's armor. It is made of a piece of Jesus juice covered silver. So yeah,
I don't think it's silver. I did look it up.
I think it's iron.
Splinters of the true cross.
No, it's actually a piece of iron. Like it's one of the nails. It's I think it's iron, or I don't know. It's not silver, but I think it is iron.
And
either way, it's stupidly good. Like it is that thing of like that's again what I mean. Like he's scientifically just like, yeah, I'll just take all the things like in a scientific mind where it's just like, you know, a logical concept is like this, and then almost like a logical mind but with an understanding of the magical concepts of the magical world and the realms of possibility. He buys or finds or discovers and then melts a piece of that cross down, or at least a piece of whatever that is, down into his armor, just in case, and it comes in handy. Not as often as you think, obviously, but it comes in handy at the exact moments that he freaking well needs it. So, I mean, yeah, well done, Doctor Doom, for having one of the most badass and one of the most interesting synergies ever.
I mean, you should say he did fight again. He did fight the devil, and he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't need Doctor Strange's help, but he did win.
Yeah.
Personally.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Doctor Doom surprisingly wins a lot, for a Marvel. Like, I mean, like, yeah, usually they wouldn't give him the win because he's like, definitely, a bad dude. But it's like, yeah, I've literally won the competition to be the best guy in the Marvel universe. I've got all my powers now. Get out, that's literally a plot in one of the Marvel comics. It's like, yeah, I'm great, I am the best, I'm vindicated by the entire universe.
Can I just say one thing, just because it's one of the best storyline moments or at least one of the great storyline moments, discarding the bit where he became the best sorcerer. Black Panther.
Oh yeah.
There was a bit where pretty much Doctor Doom wanted to take all of the vibranium.
Yeah.
And like he had to go through like a sacrificial rite essentially. Like he had to talk to the Panther gods or the spirits or something to do with Black Panther. And essentially they asked him why would you be worthy for this? And he says that he wants to save the world, and they doubt him. But then he explains that he's seen all these alternate futures. He's seen like the 2099 universe where it's run by corporations. He's seen like the Days of Future Past universe. All these very different universes that aren't under his control, that have all ended in terribleness. People dying and the world turning to crap. And he realizes, you know what, if I unite the world, I can make it so it doesn't turn to this. And they realize his entire quest is essentially kind of unselfish. So they let him in. They let him take it.
Isn't there a
Thanks,
moment,
man, for gods.
Isn't there a moment where they give him an ultimatum, though? They said, okay, you can have all this power, but you're not allowed this one specific thing. And later on, he still tries to take it because he's so desperate to keep hanging on. And they're like, no, you took this. But then later on, they go, you were always going to take it. Or either they say you were always going to take it, and this was always going to happen. Or they ask him, why did you take it? And he says, I was always going to do it. It's just whether or not when. It wasn't about if, it was when. Or something like that. I can't fully remember.
All I remember is that Black Panther did something to vibranium that just made it be useless.
I think it's called
how that ended.
I think it was called the vibranium cancer or something like that, where basically it just turns it into like useless, like junk or scrap or something. Anyway, moving on. Enough about Doctor Doom, because we have done this, and moving on very swiftly to this. So, if you were in a tabletop RPG to make a combination of two abilities, would you, or would you not? Would you just say, no, I just want this one class, one power, one specific thing, or whatever? Or would you go both? Because, before you both answer, I want to point out, Alex, I've looked at your record, and Sam, I've looked at yours, and both of you usually single class.
Well, it's been usually. I mean, that's the thing, because I started off like Anomaly Central. I kind of tried to walk before I could crawl. Really, after my tentative.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, after the just doing a hustle, I'm like, yeah, I got this. I got the, 2 powers. How complicated could it possibly be? And I was like, I don't understand. And it's like, after a while playing it, it's just like I felt like it was a kind of crash course in both powers, and I was lucky in that I chose two that worked really well together, and I had like a lot of passion for. But then after that, I was just sort of like, yeah, I think I just want to, just have one power and just see, what I can do with this one power. All these interesting things. I don't have so many balls in the air.
The irony is that your best character was the one that you were the most confused on, and your worst character was the one that you sort of was able to put both feet on the ground. Because your best character was Aspen and your worst character was Johnny.
Yeah.
And it like obviously like no offense, but like I
No,
still to
it's
this
fine.
day love so many of your characters, and I love Johnny, but I love Johnny for
Yeah.
what Johnny represented, not for what Johnny was mechanically.
That definitely was the case as well, because I was like, yeah, and I wanted it to be like a surprise as well. I think that I could have like, I just get your advice and stuff to make Johnny, a better character mechanically and stuff, and that
You
would
were
have
trying,
been
if
better.
anything, you were trying to prove me wrong. Like you were just like, aha, I'm playing this character. Yeah, I'm not playing a mechanic that I always play in the kiln and this, that, and that. I just went, technically you are, and you just went, what? And I went, well, as soon as you roll once, basically everyone else does all the rolling for you. And you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's how you acted. Like you're just like, oh, come on.
It kind of was. I mean, I think I created Johnny for the wrong reasons. That's the thing. I think that, when
Still
it's
to this
organic,
day,
it's better.
If I would make that bargain of if I had to stream it every other week, I would do that. That would be my bargain if I could get Alfie to do that session, because I love the villains campaign.
I must say I am like kind of missing it a little bit, because it's like it was starting to hot up a little bit, and then it sort of like went.
you know the irony of that, and that I'll go on to this now, and then we'll continue back with the rest of this, because this is going on for a little longer than I thought, but I want to get back to this. The irony of this, and this Sam is going to hate this. The irony of this is every single one of you really like that campaign. It is using the situation or the system that Sam hates. And it is the trope that one of the players has to be the leader.
I mean, there's a reason I hate it beyond the fact 2 of my characters died. The character I really loved got killed by everyone else.
No, but you said you still quite like the campaign. Like
I was fine
even,
playing
you even
Ireland.
said that.
Just hated it when I had to play a guy no one trusted and everyone hated.
Because, to be fair, you did
twice.
To be fair, you got to be fair. But I have to say this, Sam. Don't put on the actual chat and also say to everyone on the voice chat, maybe I'll just blow all of you up, see how you like it.
Yeah,
that doesn't make.
I mean, yeah, that sounds a bit sus. Sounds a bit sus there.
Also, in character, at one point you just go, "What? I hate that none of you trust me. Maybe I should just do something about it."
I can't remember that far back.
No, you can't. But Bill,
you can.
Bill gave you a lovely little trinket for you to hold on to forever. So that'll be great.
Oh, I can't. Well, next time I'll just play Ireland again. Let's remake him. He was fun. He gambled.
He died. He died in such a magnificent way. Either way,
I don't think Red Zed or whatever it's called will ever return.
Either way, I mean, to be fair, I really liked Red Zed. I loved Red Dawnstar.
You Red Zed the Jestamine.
I loved Red Dawnstar. He was awesome. But anyway, we're getting ahead. But I'm actually going to talk about this. Telekinesis and combustion manipulation. The ability to be able to make things explode upon touching them, and then the ability to be able to manipulate things telekinetically. Now, that is brilliant because your telekinetic range was way further than your blast radius. So you could touch a bunch of objects and yeet them using telekinesis as they fly over and hit the target. Boom. Just tons of stuff exploding. I loved that. That was awesome. Never got to really use that at its full pace. Maybe you might be able to at some point later. I still, to this day, think a lot of powers work really well. But I want to, as we end this campaign, blimey, as we end this talk, if you were to make a character either using multi-class or using the system in Animators, what 2 powers or 2 classes or combination of 2 things, like either race and power, or race and trade, race and class, whatever, however you want to go about it, how would you do it, or what would you do?
I have an idea, actually. I have an idea. I have a plan.
Plan?
I don't
Oh
know.
my god.
You know,
That's my
you
line.
know, you know how like well, we've got another character that Bill's playing right now that has like can use chemistry manipulator to basically just create all kinds of cool things.
Yeah.
Like, what they need to do is like, if I would have that and projectile enhancement, like I could just literally create guns or bows and arrows at least, and then just instantly be able to like fly everything around at like intense speed. Like I would be at peak for using these weapons,
That is
you
true.
know, to their best ability. And if it breaks, just make another one
Or
instantly.
fix it.
Boom. Or fix it. Yeah, just
Instantly.
boom. Aha! I've disarmed you. Oh, two more guns.
Damn, that's actually really a cool idea.
Yeah.
I really like that actually.
It can happen sometimes.
You say sometimes. There have been a lot of cool concepts that you've made. That I mean, I want to point this out. Dr. Satine or Dr. Satan, whichever one that you want to pronounce it, not fully optimized. Still one of the best characters you've ever made.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was not bad for a timer as well.
Oh no, definitely.
say.
Like I say, the best first timers ever is still to this day the best first timer ever is either Donk, Bullet Terrence, or Seth Starr. I'm still thinking Bullet Terrence and Donk are the A-list.
Yeah, I would go for Donk myself, you know. But then again, I'm biased because I was in campaigns
You
with
were in
Donk, and they were
campaign to Donk,
great.
yeah, and I was. That was to be fair, Bullet Terrence is pretty difficult for me because Bullet Terrence was one of those characters that just always got a natural 20 at the weirdest times, and it was the most perfect situations. It's that moment. It was like, hey, you've got a dislocated shoulder, and like we're about to be like shot by a bunch of armed guards because we're just outside their base, and then he just shouts, breakdance competition! Yeah! I've got this. Rolls charisma, natural 20. Rolls dexterity with acrobatics, natural 20. What? And then he just breakdances and everyone joins in, but then the rest of the group just veer off and go into the base, and they continue to do what they do as he continues to get pretty damn good breakdance rolls. I still can't believe that to this day. That is so weird. So, if you're ever wondering why exactly I like Bullet Terrence or any particular thing, characters with a decent set of natural 20s can work really well, but also characters that have really bad natural 1s are also quite funny. I'm just going to say this. Sam, you have had a lot of characters die on you. A lot.
Yes.
However,
I have.
You've not ever had a character die from PvP in a campaign.
Yes, I have. Not in this campaign.
Oh, I mean, in any of the ones that
I
we've
mean,
done.
on purpose.
On purpose.
Any of the
On
ones
purpose.
we've
It was an
done.
accident. It was an accident, I swear.
I've had a couple die on purpose.
Have you had any of the ones that we've done, or at least has Alex been in any of the ones that you've had die through PvP?
I don't think Alex has been in any of them now.
Because I was going to say, Graham has.
I mean, there's always time, Joe. There's always time for me to get killed by one of you on purpose.
is kind of asking for it, but we'll get to that.
So actually, I was going to mentioning that. I was going to lead into a character which I did play, who was multi-classed.
Okay, go for it.
I did love. This was in a game by someone I know called Robo Dragon or Gabriel. I played a bard artificer kobold called... What was it called? Actually, it was Dr. Doom. We'll just say that. It was Dr. Doom as a kobold. And pretty much what he did in the campaign was that he had essentially had guns, but they were in his hand, in his palm, so he could shoot people with his palm. Because this was fantasy setting still. And they had guns, but they didn't have laser rifles and that. So he had a gun he had a gun hand. But what he did most was he would convince people to join his side. Because he was essentially trying to start a revolution and take back his home, take back like pretty much to get like a square, to get a land and start free where everyone was equal and stuff like that. It was very like divided society. Do you guys still hear me?
No,
I
no,
can still hear
no,
you,
we're
I just-
listening. Yeah.
Sorry, I was waiting for someone to interrupt me there. But
No,
yes,
I'm listening.
essentially, yeah, he was like a kobold, and kobolds in his universe were essentially the British, in
Of course.
that they were colonizers and weirdly enough traveled people underfoot.
Just
And
literally.
my character wanted to make a whole new town, like a whole new kingdom, essentially, because he was one of the downtrodden, and his either his sister or just some no, it was a random orc, I believe, who helped him. Also got shot down, and he said he was going to name the city after her. It was called like Valeria, or it was something. It was something with V.
Aw,
Yeah,
nice.
and what he did was he would either in combat he would shoot people, or he'd try to turn them into friends to help him take over the city. Like, one of the best parts was he convinced the dragon to give him money to help him start his army, and in exchange he'd give him taxes, get like a percentage off the tax, so that he would get more gold. So the gold he lost would be like he'd get like more gold for his horde.
I love like most of your characters are basically just very efficient politicians, but with lasers. Like that's
Essentially,
like
yeah.
most of your characters have been in my
Or-
experience.
I mean,
Like-
Luro Arden is immediately coming to mind when I think of super
What was he again?
capitalist. Do you seriously?
Oh yeah,
not
he was the Lex
remember?
Luthor.
Yeah, there we go.
But I should say, Laurel Arden has been a name for a few characters in the past. He wasn't always
Aw,
Lex Luthor.
Sam, you little whore. Right, so we're gonna move on. So, Alex, multi-classing, either something that you've already done or something that you can think of. Multi-classing, multi-powers, perfect synergy between species, race, class, or whatever. What do you think would be a perfect synergy?
I'm not sure actually. I think that I usually find that like weirdly bard and like classes like druid or like wizard work really well because a lot of the spells are kind of similar and you just sort of like you can just kind of play off each other a bit more. It's like, okay, I've got the power of healing word and all of that, but I could also like get the powers to set things on fire at a distance. I haven't got a song for that, but I've got a spell for that.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. It's weird because in D&D I don't normally multi-class. That's a weird thing. I don't know why particularly. It's like I'm either a bard or I'm a ranger or I'm just straight wizard. The thing that I multi-class a lot on, weirdly enough, is your games and only your games.
I mean, Warhead is the first one you've not multi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
other
no,
than like
definitely.
Irving, that's Irving's like the Irving was the first one, I think.
Yeah. Yes, because even Johnny was technically multi-class because they were a support item weapon type superpower user because they could turn into a gun and further enhance a person's abilities, but then they were also a navigator. So it's this thing of like, no, sorry, they were a sailor. Black Flame was the navigator.
And also I had like a few willpower techniques. Also like I had that extra damage type of spatial as well. So
yes, yeah, well, although to be fair, that was your mutation ability because you were like, hey, I was wondering, should I become a turret gun or should I be like a gun that can do a special damage type? And I was like, I mean, would you prefer to be an automated handgun / turret gun or do this? And I think what changed your mind from the turret gun was I was like, although it is a higher roll requirement, and you just went, I don't like rolling extra.
Yeah, I was like, at that point, I was like, no, this is gonna suck even more. Fuck it, I'm just, I'll just get the damage type and be done with it.
I think this is where I should probably start voicing my opinion on multi-classing. Thanks for joining us today. I mean, I am the forever DM, so
I know it's a real shame actually. I've got to like find something at some point so that you can be because I did like actually the characters that you have done, like the husk, the husk that we liked
Oh,
in
Nesma
yeah,
Tel, who
that's what
his
tell
name means immortal or immortal man.
the irony. Oh
Yeah,
dear.
to be fair, he was killed by a holy man. So, well, I'm not so holy man.
It was like really that whole
cultist.
campaign. I was just like at the end of it, I was just kind of devastated because it was like Nespa, no,
However,
and I
I
was like,
have played a multi-class user, a person with healing factor and structure, where he could break and manipulate structures of physical matter, and he also had the ability. He had the ability to heal himself, kinda, but his powers weren't very good.
yeah, it was kind of like not a good showcase really because it was very early level stuff, and you hadn't really worked out the character. I think he died before he could like really grow on us or
Yeah, both
anything.
of them
So.
did. Nesma died
Ah,
pretty quickly as well. Sorry, go on,
Which is
Sam.
strange because Nesma did have the time. We actually did have a lot of character moments. I think that's the main
Super
difference.
strength,
Like, yeah,
Okay, I know his special abilities. He had forearms, super strength, adaptability, regeneration, and he had environmental symbiosis because he got stronger whilst he was in the hot desert because it was his homeland. I also gave him the trade Emjanarlinian native. It's called native, but you have to then state what specific location. Kind of similar to Ranger, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I think I figured it out.
go on.
Why in D&D I've multi-classed, and even why in this game with multi-class. I tell you what my findings have come up with.
I would love to hear this, actually.
Well, the more players there are, the less reason we will to multi-class. Because in D&D, let's be honest, you know the A team.
yeah.
They're all specialized. Let's go with the A team. There's the face who has charisma. There's Barak, or was it? And Mr. T, he has the
Yeah,
strength.
he's.
There's
Oh, I was going to say
the man with the
explosives.
plan, and then there's the guy who can fly and
There's
like
Madman Murdoch, who's
as
the
a vehicle
wild man.
man. Whereas if there's only two of them, there'd be the strength and either the planner man or you know what I mean. Like they'd have to take on more than one role.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas in games like us, there's usually like what three of us sometimes, and we all have to take up at least some kind of to at least fit some kind of role in the group. 5-man band approach. Of one of us has to be the heavy hitter. One of us has to be the spokesperson. One of us has to be the person who can be like, well, you're kind of healed.
Yeah, so yeah, you kind of like do have to, so you have something for every situation. And I mean, I guess that's why I sort of multi-class in like in Animite Tales more than in other games, I guess, because it's like, oh, we'll need that. Oh, maybe we'll need that. And it's like, I've been through this radio a bit more now, so I'm like, okay, maybe, I don't need to have something for literally everything because I became a jack of all trades, master of none. And that was kind of my play
Yeah,
style.
yeah. I mean, if you were to take my opinion, which you never should,
Yes.
uh, spoken like a true person who's heard me talk for any longer than 5 minutes. I still think that Aspen is the perfect explanation of that because again, I will tell the story and I will tell it till the end of time. When you first joined us and you played as Doc, not many people liked Doc because Doc only had the one thing which was going for him, which was decent charisma and the ability known as I Know a Guy, because eventually got his signature, which was I Know a Guy. And people were like, yeah, but what can they do for us? And it's like, well, you fast forward the story, which helped a lot. However, when you eventually became Aspen, a lot of the players were going, well, Alex, why don't you just buff yourself? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Make your power more stronger. Why don't you just get your dice to get higher? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? To basically have a higher dice. Now, at the time, I think you were rolling a D8 or a D6 for either of your two powers or whatever. And it was like, oh yeah, but you could be rolling so much more. You could be healing us so much more. And let's be honest, your rolls were not very lucky. Whenever your powers did work, you only just got like 1 or 2 points on the D8, which was a shame. However, by the point of the second arc of that campaign, you had all of the perks and the abilities, and you could then regenerate an entire limb, a bundle of organs. You could pretty much, if someone had a cut, anyone from the moment that a person had a bruise all the way to almost all of their body missing, you can regenerate it. And it was that point where you could just do so much with your powers that it was that thing of like, Aspen was no longer this character of like, Aspen, you can't do anything, to the point of where it was like, quick, somebody get Aspen because no one else can do anything. And it was this thing of like, it's going to take about 5 more rounds of normal healing to get their max health. But at least they're not bleeding to death. At least they're not dying from an ailment of poison. At least they're not missing an arm. And Aspen even did this to this one. So they regenerated their entire arm after it was glorified. Which, again, their entire arm was turned into wood. They got it removed by another player, and then they regenerated it entirely. And it's this thing of like, Aspen is the perfect explanation of, just because it's a game that is set in superpowers and it's almost like a power fantasy, and yes, you can power game, doesn't necessarily mean that the game is going to reward you for it. Because I guarantee you, Alex, if you had gone for pure buffs, you would not have been able to do the amazing things that you were able to do as Aspen. And it's the same thing with Sam when you were playing as Cover, and when Kane was playing as an Arche, and Bill was playing as Phyllis, and even as Graham played as Cass. Like, just because that you play as a specific way does not necessarily mean it's ruined. I mean, one of the reasons...
You know what I've learned from your phrase, though, is that before I joined, everyone must be complete jerks. They're saying to Alex, you're doing your character wrong. You're doing it wrong. Do it right. Essentially became the Dark Souls community when they say don't do resistance.
I want to say no, but to be honest, like, well, they weren't really horrible. I want to point out they weren't. Well, in my perspective, I don't think they were really horrible, but they were kind of like making.
Yeah, it became a joke. It became a running gag.
You didn't have a lot of. I mean, hell, even
let your character.
No, go.
Right there, don't let your character become a joke unless you want them to be a joke. That's bad.
Yeah, but it did become that thing of, be careful who you call ugly in high school. Be careful who you call not, or be careful who you say get buffs in first arc campaign, because eventually everyone relied on Aspen.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, who's laughing now?
Who is laughing now? Oh wait, you can't because you're missing lungs. Shit, I should probably.
I'll seal up your lips.
Yeah.
Literally just seal up your lips. You're laughing now, are you?
I mean, there was literally a moment where someone was half dead and Aspen was able to just, because they had biokinesis, lift them up telekinetically and move them to the bed. And it was that thing of like, man, none of us could have done that because this buff is so heavy. And Aspen can lift them up regardless of weight, because it's their only telekinetic ability is to be able to manipulate biological creatures. Living, biological, organic mass. And it's that thing of, no one laughed at Aspen anymore. Everyone said like, oh man, we should make sure that Aspen doesn't get donutted again by like this really overpowered creature, or man, we should really hope that Aspen, and everyone obviously laughed whenever Aspen got down, but everyone laughs at everyone's character when they get down at that point. It was just a joke that you got down. But that's my point, is that like, power synergy and eventual, the eventual reality of no power is weak. It's just, it needs to be in its right or best situation. I think really that's the best place that we can really end this, is putting it that putting a single power on its own isn't necessarily bad. Putting two powers together doesn't necessarily always mean that it's going to work. It also doesn't necessarily mean that you have to rely on multiclassing. All it
you know
really
what?
matters is that you have fun with what you have.
Play the character you want to play is what we're saying.
Exactly. And
Don't bow down to peer pressure and say, you know what,
exactly.
I'm going to multi-class into cleric because we need a healer. Play the character you want.
Play the
Have fun.
complete asshole punch drunk fight monkey that you know that you want to be, and maybe someday people will be saying, you know what, I really miss Anarche. He could have really helped in that one fight situation that he obviously couldn't have helped in, but we didn't see him, so we don't know. Or, hey, you know what, I really miss Aspen when I am losing my legs because Sam blew them up. So
And I think Alex's character blew me up instead of the other way around.
I don't even
I
remember
said I was sorry. My God,
forget.
you blow up one character once and then it becomes your legacy. I mean, I
Exactly.
swear.
I mean, I should say don't bully, but never forget.
Never forget. Yeah, exactly. Don't bully, but never forget. And that's pretty much where we should end this, because again, I think to be fair, Alex's story of Aspen is probably the perfect way to end this, because power synergy is one thing, but understanding that, again, it should be the way that you feel that you want to play, the best way that you understand. I mean, Siobhan's playing as Valentina, and she asked me, can I play as a character just with super strength and flight? And I was like, oh, there's a bundle of different ways you can do it. And she was like, no, but I want to do it this way. I want it simplistic. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if you do this, it's pretty powerful. And she's like, that's good enough. I don't really care if it's the most powerful, if it's the least powerful. I just want it simplistic, so that I can understand it the way that I understand it. And she did that because she's not super versed with tabletop RPGs, and so she did that. So it is exactly
My
that
God
thing.
as well. My God as well. Siobhan, if Siobhan's listening, what an entrance! My God, that's like
Yes.
that. I'm loving Valentina right now. It's like, yeah, like immediately the powerhouse has entered the building, and the building has crumbled beneath her, like because she's just blown it apart with the sheer power.
Super strength and meteoric flight. The ability to just enter a specific zone 40 meters away, like as if you're entering the atmosphere like a meteor. Like, that power is insane. Those two powers are perfect. Just launches herself, floats up about 10 meters off of the ground and launches herself like 40 meters forwards and immediately slams into something at the speed of like a bullet. And a person like reaching that speed and smashing into something is insane. With that kind of power, there is nothing stopping her. And with that, I'd like to thank both of you for joining me on this episode. So thank you, Sam.
Now are we
thank you,
ending?
Alex. Yeah, we'll end here.
Oh.
If there's any particular things that you guys would like to ask us, hit those comments, smash that like button, etc., etc. If you guys are interested, check out my Twitter at @AnimiteTales, as I post every now and again. We also have a Patreon if you guys would like to support us, because we are, again, I'm currently developing a tabletop RPG, so if you guys would actually like to have a look at that. We also have a comic on our Patreon for any of our different patrons, and also we actually give rewards out to those who are on any specific tier. For instance, you can see the comic, but if you go to higher tiers, you can actually get art made for a character that you might want in the tabletop RPG itself. In other words, it will be placed in a module as an NPC, or you can even get a tier where you can actually make a weapon item or specific item that one of the game designers, I say game designers, me or one of the people that one of the admins that we're currently going through will actually balance check over the item, and then we'll actually say whether or not that should be okay or should be allowed. And then basically we get an art done of that, thanks to the artist wonderfully known as Coming Soon Entertainment, or Coming Soon _coin. So if you guys would actually like to have that, definitely check that out. And thank you again very much for joining us. Next episode, we don't really know what's going on, but we'll probably post on Twitter, so keep an eye out. Thank you very much. And if you'd like to sign off, guys, because I know that you've been wanting to.
Bye.
See you in the future.
And as always, ciao ciao for now.